Hello and welcome to Vetri Community Partnership's Cooking Training Module. Today we will be learning about breakfast while we make our breakfast burrito and green dream smoothie. Our learning objectives for today are to eat a rainbow, where we will use a wide variety of colorful fruits and vegetables, the importance of breakfast and how it nourishes our body in the morning and replenishes energy, and reading a recipe. Participants will gain confidence in cooking by developing their ability to read recipes. For our culinary teaching points, we will review kitchen safety, knife safety, how to saute, how to crack an egg, rolling a burrito, and making a smoothie. Before we begin class, we want to review our recipe and equipment needs with our participants before getting started. To review, for our Green Dream smoothie, we will need the following ingredients: 2 apples peeled and chopped, 2 bananas sliced, 4 to 6 cups spinach tightly packed, 1 tablespoon ginger minced or grated, 6 oranges juiced, which is about a half cup of juice, 1 cup water, and 3 cups of ice. Reviewing our equipment needs, we will simply need 1 blender or handheld immersion blender, a high-sided container if using the immersion blender, a peeler, a chef's knife or a plastic knife, and liquid and dry measuring cups and spoons. Following the instructions, we will want to first add all of the ingredients except for the ice to a blender. If using an immersion blender, we will want to add it to a high-sided container. Next, we will blend the ingredients until smooth and add in the ice as desired while continuing to blend until thickened and chilled. Add water if necessary if the consistency becomes too thick. Next, it is time to review with our participants the breakfast burrito. While reviewing the ingredients, we will need 6 eggs, 1 tablespoon shredded cheese per burrito, which is optional, 6 6-inch whole wheat tortillas, oil or cooking spray, 1/8 to 1/4 cup of any 3 vegetables. Some examples we provided here are kale, Swiss chard or collard greens, arugula or spinach, bell peppers, tomatoes, broccoli, potatoes or sweet potatoes, onions, mushrooms, zucchini or yellow squash, black beans, or asparagus. Reviewing our equipment needs, we will use 1 small bowl, a whisk or a fork, rubber spatula, wooden spoon or fork, a dry measuring cup and measuring spoons, and a skillet. As we review our instructions, first we will want to whisk 1 egg in a small bowl. Next, we will spray our skillet with cooking spray and add 1/8 cup of each prepared vegetable, 1/4 cup or more of leafier vegetables, starting with the longer cooking vegetables and then adding quicker cooking vegetables. Cook through or to desired crunchiness. Pour the beaten egg over the vegetables and stir continuously to scramble the mixture together. Once cooked through, place the egg and vegetable mixture on the center of the tortilla and sprinkle with cheese. Feel free to add a dollop of refried beans and or salsa. To roll into a burrito, fold the right and left side of the tortilla until they are nearly touching at the center of the mixture. Using your thumbs, bring up the bottom of the tortilla and begin to roll, securing the tortilla around the mixture so it looks like a cylinder. Place your burrito seam side down on the skillet and toast until browned. Flip to brown the other side. Serve immediately with salsa on the side or freeze for a great microwavable grab-and-go breakfast. Now that we've reviewed our objectives, teaching points, and the recipe and equipment list with our participants, it is now time to get cooking. When we begin, we will have our participants gather all of the ingredients and equipment needs before they dive into the recipe. First, we will start with our Green Dream smoothie. We will begin by peeling 2 whole apples. Today we chose green apples, but your participants can choose whatever apple they prefer. When peeling, we want to ensure our participants remember that we are still using a sharp object, and to be careful to make sure our fingers are not in the way. It is good to remind our participants that it is okay if some of the peel is left on. We are primarily removing the peel to ensure a nice smooth texture for our drink. Once our apples are peeled, we will want to carefully dice our apple into small bite-sized pieces. This is to ensure that they will be fully blended once added to the blender. Our participants have the option of doing this with a sharp chef knife or utilizing a plastic knife instead. Regardless of if our participants are using a sharp chef knife or a plastic knife, we want to ensure that they are maintaining knife safety by keeping their fingers tucked behind the blade. We do this by utilizing a bear claw as seen in the video. Once our apple is completely diced, we will add them to a mixing bowl and move on to the next step. Next, we will move on to preparing our banana. First, we will peel our banana, and then we will want to slice it into small, bite-sized pieces. Again, this is to make sure that the ingredients will fully mix within the blender. To do this, our participants have the option of practicing utilizing a chef knife, using a plastic knife, or even using their hands to break apart the banana. Once our banana is completely chopped, we will then add it to the bowl with our apples. Next, we will want to move on to preparing our ginger. First, using a knife or our hands, we will want to cut off a knob of ginger. A knob is usually referred to about a thumb-sized piece of ginger. Once separated, we will want to peel our knob of ginger to ensure that all of the skin is removed. We can do this utilizing a peeler, but also we can use the back of a spoon to use that same scraping motion to remove the skin. Once fully peeled, we will use a grater to grate our ginger. To do this, we will want our grater to be on a flat surface, and we will gently move our ginger piece across the sharp edges. For this, we are using the finest setting on our grater to ensure that our ginger is nice and minced. It is important to remind our participants during this step that ginger is very fibrous, so this process can take a little bit of time to ensure that all of the pieces are finely grated. As our participants continue to finely grate the ginger, it is important to remind them to stop before they get too close to their fingers. We want to ensure safety, and although we're not utilizing a knife, a grater is still a very sharp object. Once grating is complete, the participants can then reveal all of the fine pieces of ginger underneath their grater. We will add that ginger to the bowl with our banana and apple. Next, moving on to our oranges, we will want to make orange juice. To do this, we will first want to cut our orange in half. Once halved, our participants can use their hands to squeeze out the juice of the orange. Alternative to just using their hands, participants can also utilize, if on hand, a citrus squeezer or orange juicer. For the 1.5 cups of juice that we will need, our participants will need to squeeze about 6 whole oranges. Now that we've prepared our ingredients, we will then want to utilize our blender. Today we are showing how to make this recipe utilizing an immersion blender in a high-sided container. We are first putting our spinach into the high-sided container. We are utilizing a full bag of pre-washed baby spinach, which equates to about 6 cups. Next, utilizing our liquid measuring cup, we will measure out 1 cup of water and add it to our spinach. Next, using our immersion blender, we will pack down our spinach and begin blending to ensure that it becomes a smooth consistency. Alternatively, if using a regular blender, you can do this by utilizing a low power to ensure that the spinach is completely blended. Your participants may notice that after blending for several minutes, our container of spinach has now dwindled down to a much smaller quantity. Because of this, spinach and other leafy greens are an excellent way to add tons of nutrients into a person's diet quickly and simply. Now that our water and spinach have been completely blended, we will next add our additional liquid of 6 cups of orange juice. Next, we will also add our prepared produce of the ginger, bananas, and apple. Once all of our ingredients have been added to the blender or high-sided container, we can now begin blending again until all of the ingredients are fully emulsified. While we are blending our smoothie, we can also begin to add in our ice. The ice will be important in cooling our smoothie down and making it a nice cold treat. Now that all of our ingredients have been fully blended together and our smoothie is complete, now is a great time to have participants pour out portions and try it themselves. Enjoy! Now we will move on to our breakfast burrito. Just as before, we will have our participants gather all of the ingredients as well as the equipment before getting started. At this time, our participants should also wash all fresh produce. The three veggies that we chose to utilize today are kale, onion, and mushrooms. We are first going to start with our onion. To do this safely, we first chop the two ends of our onions, ensuring we're utilizing a bear claw so that our fingers are nice and safe behind the blade. Now that we've removed the ends of our onion, we will now be able to easily peel. We will want to remove the outside layer, which is a papery skin. Once our onion is peeled, we will then cut it in half to ensure that we have two flat sides of the onion. Next, we will want to begin to slice our onion into nice, long strips. Once we finish cutting the strips of onion, we will then want to turn our onion around to ensure that we can cut across those strips to make nice bite-sized pieces. Again, ensuring knife safety, we will want to make sure our participants remain using a bear claw with their fingers tucked behind the blade. Once our onion is chopped, or other vegetables utilizing, we will then move those pieces to a medium-sized bowl. Next, utilizing our mushrooms, we will want to remove the stems from the center of the mushroom. This can be easily done with our hands by just pulling slightly on the base of the stem. Once the stems have been removed, we will then, utilizing our bear claw, make slices of our mushroom. We will continue to cut these slices until all of our mushroom pieces have been chopped. We can do this with a chef's knife, but also we can utilize a lettuce knife or a plastic knife instead. Once our mushrooms or other vegetable are fully chopped, we will set it aside in a bowl. For our third and final vegetable, we will be slicing our kale. To do this, we first want to remove the middle stem as it can become a little too tough to eat raw. Instead, we can either discard it and compost or chop it up into bite-sized pieces and cook it early on to ensure that it's nice and soft. Because we are making ribbons from our kale, we first want to roll our kale up nice and tight, and then utilizing our knife and our bear claw, create slices in the rolled pieces of kale. We will continue with this method through all of our pieces of kale. As we move along and finish with our ribbons, we will want to place that in a separate bowl from our first ingredients. The reason being is because it is a quicker cooking vegetable, so we will not add it in at the same time as our mushrooms and our onion. This is similar for other ingredients such as arugula, spinach, Swiss chard, collard greens, or really any leafy green. Now that we have completed cutting up our 3 different vegetables, we will next move on to grating our cheese. At the grocery store, you can either buy a block of cheese or pre-grated cheese. Purchasing a block of cheese like this is nice because it is not only cheaper, but it is also another opportunity for participants to get hands-on. Next, we will move on to cracking and whisking our eggs. In this recipe, 1 to 2 eggs whisked is a great portion for one burrito. Once completely whisked, we will set aside our egg and move on to cooking our vegetables. In a skillet, we will add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil or oil of your choice. Turning our skillet onto medium-high heat, we will want to make sure that our oil gets hot. Once the skillet is hot, next we are going to add our onions. We want to add our onions first before our other ingredients because they are not only a quicker cooking vegetable, but they are also an aromatic. So by adding them early, they have a chance to simmer and create all these delicious smells and flavors. Using a spatula, we will continue to push around our onions in the skillet to ensure that they do not burn. We will know that our onions are complete once they become translucent or otherwise slightly see-through. Once our onions are ready, next we will add in our mushrooms. Just as we did before, we will want to make sure that we're continuously stirring our ingredients to ensure that they don't burn. We will know our mushrooms are ready when they reduce in size and begin to brown. Once our first 2 vegetables have cooked down, now it is time to add our quick cooking vegetables. Once we add our kale, we will want to stir to combine to ensure that it is fully coated in the olive oil. Once incorporated, we will next add a tight-fitting lid to our skillet to allow our kale to steam. This is also known as braising. Once our kale has broken down and become smaller in size, we can then remove the lid and finish with our recipe. We will then add our whisked eggs to the mixture. Once the egg has been added, we will then mix it to incorporate with the rest of the ingredients. On about medium heat, our eggs should only take about a minute or two to cook. Once our scrambled egg is fully cooked and no longer runny, we can then remove the ingredients from the pan and set it aside in a small bowl. With our tortilla laid out flat on a plate or table, we will then scoop our mixture onto the tortilla. We want to ensure that we're placing the mixture in the center of the tortilla to make it easier when rolling. Next, we can top it with grated cheese if using. Next, we will roll it into a burrito. To do so, fold the right and left side of the tortilla until they nearly touch at the center of the mixture. Using your thumbs, bring up the bottom of the tortilla and begin to roll. Secure the tortilla around the mixture so it looks like a cylinder. In the same skillet we used to sauté our vegetables, we will then cook our burrito. To begin, we will want to place the seam side down on the skillet and toast until brown. After carefully checking to make sure that the first side is browned, we will then flip our burrito onto the other side. Once our second side has been browned, we can then remove it from the skillet. Once removed and slightly cooled enough to touch, we will cut our burrito in half so it is ready to serve. Now is a great time for participants to try their finished product. Enjoy!